and welcome to Wisp IronWomen. Sara Gross here with professional triathlete Alyssa Godesky. We have a fun show coming up, don't we, Alyssa?
We do, Sarah. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Mirinda Carfrae, 3 times Ironman world champion, 70.3 world champion.
In 2013, she ran a 250 out in Kona where only 2 men recorded a faster time. She followed that up again with a 250 in 2014 to prove it was not a fluke. And then we think that was the 4th fastest time there. So she's a running, just, to most people, I think, in triathlon.
Exactly. A running machine who is also now expecting, I think in August, she's expecting her first child. So we will look forward to talking to Rinny. And we also have one of our age group athletes, Kristen Beckstrom Radcliffe, who will be joining us and asking a question to Rinny. Alyssa, I understand you've been texting with your mom. She's a little concerned about your travel plans coming up.
Yes, Sarah. So I just announced that I'm traveling to Taiwan at the end of the month to race Challenge Taiwan. So I'm very excited. And so my mom worries herself to death. It's very endearing, actually. But she worries a lot when I travel out of the country. And so I got a text today that said, have you used the new grills at the apartment?
As in like barbecuing?
As in barbecue. Also, did you see that we, the United States, royal we here, just dropped a big bomb on Afghanistan?
You could come in the crosshairs of that fight with Afghanistan.
Yes, so that's my adorable mother trying to nonchalantly give me some suggestions for flight plans, which I maybe...
Don't go the long way from the U.S. to Taiwan. Okay, so one thing that we sort of touched on last week, but I think we should talk about a bit more given our guests today. It seems like every professional triathlete is pregnant right now. We were trying to make a list, and I think we got most of them. We got the 2016 Olympic champion, Gwen Jorgensen, is pregnant. The 2012 Olympic champion, Nicola Spirig, pregnant. Liz Blatchford, Beth McKenzie, Lauren Barnett, Michelle Bremer, ex-pro Amanda Lovato, and Katie Blakemore, I believe, just had her child. So what's in the drinking water?
I don't know, but I'm sticking to what I'm drinking here in Virginia. And it doesn't make sense with the Olympic cycle that this is kind of a downtime for the Olympic athletes, and they have a little bit of time to let their bodies kind of do this sort of thing before they really need to ramp up. But it's just an interesting trend with the long course athletes, too.
Yeah, it is. And so we're going to talk to Rinny a little bit about her pregnancy. We already talked about what a fast runner she is. I mean, a 250 in Kona, I don't know. I think we should pause for a minute and take a moment of silence for how fast that is. In 2013, I think you said she was the 3rd fastest person on the marathon. 2014, the 4th fastest person. I mean, she really is an amazing tour de force on the run.
She is. And her career has been quite long. I think she's been racing professionally now for 15 years, just about. So I think her perspective that, is going to be really interesting here as she kind of takes on a new chapter.
Rinny, welcome to the show. I understand congratulations are in order.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
How's the pregnancy going so far?
Yeah, so far, so good. Actually, today I'm 23 weeks, so well and truly into it now. I've put on about 20 pounds or maybe 23 pounds from my race weight in Kona only just over 6 months ago. So that's all a bit weird. Certainly running is a lot slower and swimming is a lot slower, but I'm really enjoying the change. And I don't know, we're just really excited for this stage of our lives, finally starting a family.
That's awesome. And Rinny, I've seen on Instagram that you're still staying fit and keeping moving and doing some things in that direction. But what's one thing you miss and one thing that maybe you don't miss so much about kind of the structured Ironman training life?
I think what you don't realize when you're kind of in it, I mean, I've been racing pretty professionally for almost 15 years. And I think you just get into every new season. You sort of will finish whatever race. And for me, the last 8 years, it's been Kona. And it's always been about, okay, how do we get better next year? What do we do to improve? And always looking for that next step. And initially, we knew right after Kona we were going to start trying to have a baby. So that was a really weird transition. Well, not knowing if we were going to be able to fall pregnant easily. And also kind of being in this weird zone where you couldn't really plan for the next season, but you also wanted to still plan for the next season in case. So we sort of ended up, planning. And I do like to have a good plan set out. So that's been something that I missed early on, but now that I'm into it, I'm really enjoying not having that structure, and you don't realize kind of how stressful the early part of the season is, like the January when you're in bad shape and you're trying to get back in shape and put in like big hours and you're exhausted all the time. I'm not missing having that sort of pressure. And as I said, I didn't really realize that there was pressure around that build, but there really is. Like, you know, you have markers that you want to hit every week and trying to improve every week and step up your game so that you can be ready for the season.
I think that's Alyssa's dog that agrees with you. Is that is that right?
Ramona totally agrees, Rennie.
I think so.
So tell us a bit about what your training, quote unquote, actually kind of looks like right now.
So I got back from Australia a couple of weeks ago. I was doing a lot more in Australia because Beth Mackenzie was also pregnant, and she was obviously in Noosa, Australia, and also Michelle Bremer was pregnant. So I had like a nice little pregnancy group, and also Belinda Granger, who's retired. She was kind of the queen of our little group, and we'd get together and ride a couple of times a week, and we'd go swimming 3 times a week, master swimming, and then open water swim on the Sunday. So, and then we'd all get together and run on Sundays as well. So that was just a nice little program for me. It was already built in. I kind of just turned up and cruised along, and no one was in a rush and no one was stressed, and it was kind of just like social training, which was great. And since I've been back, I've been kind of tapping into, you know, just people I would never normally train with or hike with or have time to see, which has been really nice. But yeah, now I'm basically just going day by day. I mean, I'm probably swimming 3 times a week, maybe 3K a session, and either with a friend or by myself, or sometimes I'll jump in series group, but I'm nowhere near swimming with those girls, so I'm kind of in the end lane, just kind of floating along. And then, yeah, I mean, when I feel like running, I run, but running kind of makes you most tired. It's kind of surprising how tired exercising makes you when you're carrying an extra 20 pounds and making a little human. And then cycling, I'm probably only cycling like once a week. I'd like to get back into cycling more, but I'm not super keen on riding on the roads just because, you know, it's not just me. There's somebody else I'm having to think about now too. So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of dirt roads around here I can ride on. So, yeah, I mean, just kind of going with the flow. And I'm also doing 2 strength training sessions with Erin Carson, my strength coach. So something a day. I mean, it's probably between an hour and 2 of training a day. And I try to take 1 day of nothing a week. Yeah, so it's been nice.
And Rennie, you mentioned that it was pretty soon after Kona that you and Tim knew, like, okay, we were ready to start trying to have a family. The term fall pregnant is funny to me. It's one of the Aussie slangs that I enjoy hearing. But can you talk a little bit more? I know some people may not think about it, but, you know, it's obviously a personal call with you and your partner. And then kind of in a business sense, you know, was that something you had to consider? I'm sure you looped in your coach and you looped in, you know, maybe you didn't loop in sponsors, but was that something you really had to consider, you know, kind of looking at your career here?
Yeah, it's definitely a massive factor when you know, thinking about my job is to perform and perform well on the highest level of our sport. And that's what I'm getting paid to do. And so the decision to start a family was kind of a tough one initially. And I think, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, I always thought that I would just finish out my triathlon career and then start thinking about having a family. And then I'm 36 now. And yeah, I just know risk factors go up. I know friends that have had trouble falling pregnant, and we've always known that we wanted to have kids and have a family. And so it wasn't like a hard decision to make. It was kind of like, well, I love what I'm doing. I love racing. I still have passion to race. I've done some amazing things in this sport, but I'm not going to risk, you know, starting a family or having issues trying to fall pregnant just so I can have another year or 2 of racing. And it just seemed like good timing in that, you know, at 36, I can, you know, take this year off and then probably race another 3 years if I want to, 3 or 4 years or more in Kona. And, you know, certainly believe I can race at the top level for another few years. So the timing seemed right. And yeah, I mean, I did speak to my coach about it, and my manager knew. I crossed the finish line in Kona and went to Tim, and the first thing I said to him was, let's have a baby now. Or can we have a baby now? And he's like, yeah, I think so. let's start trying. So yeah, my manager knew that we were going to start trying, and it's not something we talk to sponsors about, but I've always been open with everyone about the fact that at some point we're going to have to take a year out. So it wasn't such a big surprise for a lot of my sponsors. And honestly, my sponsors have been so amazing, and we were pretty nervous about like what they were going to say, or, you know, whether they'd continue to support me or not. And, you know, all of my sponsors, and like I have quite a long list of them these days, which is amazing. But yeah, all of them are continuing to sponsor me, and most of them are paying me my full salary. Probably about 20 or 30% of them are paying like slightly reduced salary for this year. But in those cases, they've added another year on my contract. So this is almost like a gap year, and then I go back into full contract next year and add another year on, you know, if I had 2 years left, if I would have had 2 years left this year. So it's been really amazing to have that support in my corner. And yeah, it feels kind of weird to be, you know, cashing checks and not really training, but I'm doing as much as I can, you know, for, you know, if they need me for an appearance or whatever, I'm there. And yeah, I definitely plan to get back into it next year. So I'll represent them well in the future. I've
always thought that pregnancy or an athlete who's a mom could be some kind of bonus for a sponsor. In some ways, you could use that as a way to relate to age group triathletes who might be moms themselves or have gone through pregnancy. Have any of your sponsors responded in that way? Honestly, most of them have just been like, that's awesome, fantastic, congratulations, we'll support you. They haven't really talked too much to that. They may have talked to that with my manager more than with me, but what I've been getting is, it's awesome, we're so pumped for you, and go enjoy this time. I totally agree. Our story has been pretty much the same the last 5 years, like married to another professional triathlete, racing at the top level. It's the same old tune. Like going into Kona this year, how do you make it more exciting? We're just doing the same thing. There's different things that go along with any year, and hiccups and along the way leading into any world championship. But yeah, I mean, now our story is evolving to include a child, and it's going to look different for us moving forward. And I think you're absolutely right, Sarah, that will resonate with a lot of age groupers and people who have families and others to juggle other than just racing. Yeah, exactly. I think we're coming to that place now in our sport where, as you say, you quote unquote fallen pregnant. I love that expression too. I didn't know you guys didn't say that. So, well, it's funny because it sounds like something that happens accidentally when really it's extremely intentional, right? Yes. Well, it's not always, but it was. Not always intentional for us. In this case, yeah, exactly. And so I think we've come to a place where sponsors are now willing to, you know, like you say, they're willing to help you out ongoingly during your pregnancy, and maybe give them another couple of years, and they'll start to see some of those advantages in the ways they can market that. Or, you know, wouldn't it be amazing to see a fast running pregnant woman, you know, kind of out on the trails with her belly out? Just, I mean, I think that's a really nice image, and something that in the future, I mean, if somebody asked me about marketing, which nobody is, but that I would say would be great. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how the sponsors decide to use that or not use that. But more than that, it's like, I feel that I'm reaching more people. So I have more of an audience now that I'm going to be a mom, and so more mums can relate to me being a triathlete and having a child, or even just being pregnant and keeping active and getting ready for next season. So yeah, I feel like hopefully it'll increase my following, which in turn will help the sponsors, because at the end of the day, they're trying to reach as many people as possible and using me as a vehicle. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of moms, we have a mom who's an age group triathlete. She's called Kristen Beckstrom Radcliffe, and she has a question for you. So we're going to try to find Kristen at home and see what she has to say. Hi, Kristen. It's Sara here. I'm here with Alyssa and Mirinda Carfrae. How are you?
Trying not to pee my pants. I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. We're friendly.
Every interview I've seen of Rinny, I know she's friendly, but she's still Rinny, and so it's a little unnerving, that's all.
No need for that.
And Kristen, before we begin, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're calling from today, and how long you have been doing triathlons? Maybe a good start.
I'm calling from O'Fallon, Illinois, which is right outside St. Louis. At this very moment, I'm in the parking lot of my kid's martial arts studio, so if you hear cars, that's why. I started doing triathlon, 2010. I ran my first half marathon, and I thought I was going to lose my mind with just the running. So when my husband said, why not go for it, I did, and I did my first sprint that August and haven't stopped since. Still haven't been bold enough to jump up past an Olympic, but I'm firmly happy in sprint Olympic, no longer being an Athena, because I've worked hard to get past being an Athena, as terrible as that sounds. So that's, I guess, I don't know what else to say.
That's your story. Well, Kristen, we understand you have a question for Rinny.
I do. I think as I had to absorb what to ask you, Rinny, at this point, I immediately went to my role as a mother and a triathlete, and I wondered if you've been able to kind of contemplate yet how that will change you as an athlete when your little O'Donnell finally arrives.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's one that we think about and talk about a lot I talk about a lot with my husband, obviously. You know, when this tiny human comes into your lives, priorities change, and you know, my whole life has been, well, not my whole life, but certainly the last 8 years has been so focused on Kona and getting the best out of myself in Kona. And I know that I'm going to need that same hunger and that same attitude when I go back to Kona. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how having a little person at home waiting for me when I'm out riding is going to change my mindset. I'm hoping that I'll still be, you know, as hungry as ever to race well in Kona. But yeah, I mean, I'll have to wait and see.
Kristen, maybe you give Rinny a mom tip.
Mine were a little older. Mine are now 14, almost 15, and 11. So, you know, they were young elementary and late toddlerhood when I started. But I think the best tip I can give is to continue to show them whatever drive you had or whoever you are before you're their mom, to continue that.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had some other questions from our audience. One of my favorites, Rinny, is, are you and Tim competitive in training?
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and I think earlier in our relationships we were maybe a lot more competitive, but honestly now we're just I'm Team Tim and he's Team Rinny. Like, we're mostly just each other's best cheerleader. And so not really. In training, I just want him to have great sessions, and I want to have great sessions too. And I think we leave our competitive spirit to like the race course, and not really amongst each other. We're competitive in other things in life, but not necessarily the swim, bike, run. Yeah, I think we've kind of gotten past that.
And a lot of the women out there know Rinny and look up to you for your super running abilities. And a lot of the questions we fielded came in about that. Are there any running drills that you would recommend, or perhaps some certain strength exercises or anything that you rely on as true ways to keep you running as fast as you do?
Honestly, I think my running ability mostly comes from consistency and being fortunate enough to not have had any injuries in my career. And I don't think I have like any super crazy talent. I think my talent is resistance to injury and in being able to, you know, have 15 years of uninterrupted triathlon training and run training. And I think most of my competitors have had to have, you know, layoffs, you know, every couple of years from running. And so I think that that's why, you know, in the marathon, in the back half of the marathon, I'm not really falling apart. It's because I have that foundation from so many years of just week in, week out work. There's no real magic exercise or anything. I've never really done running drills. I'm more about just running to rhythm and feel. I do work with a strength coach, and I think been working with her for the last 4 years, Erin Carson here in Boulder, and she's amazing. It's not necessarily lots of like heavy lifting weight. It's more functional strength, and for me, making sure my glutes are firing in the right order and I'm not using my lower back. once my glutes start to fatigue. So just making sure we're switching on all the right muscles so that when I actually do go out and exercise, I'm using the right muscles in the right sequence. And I think that has been helping me continue to, improve and get the results that I've been getting.
Okay, so we have a new segment on the show now. This was Alyssa's amazing idea. A little game of Would You Rather. So we're going to throw a question of Would You Rather, and you just say whatever comes at the top of your head.
Okay.
Would you rather race an Ironman and drink only chocolate milk on the bike or only chocolate milk during the run portion?
On the bike, for sure.
Right? That's just because you absorb stuff better on the bike, right?
Yeah. No, chocolate milk on the run might get messy pretty quickly.
Okay, number 2. Would you rather be carrying the baby and having Tim race in Kona this year, or would you rather have Tim carry the baby this season and you race in Kona?
That's a good question. I think because of the shape that I'm in right now, I'm going to say I'm pretty happy to be sitting on the sideline because it would be a disaster to see me out there racing this year. So, yeah, no, I'm happy to be on the sideline with the baby and supporting Tim.
And last one, Rinny, would you rather, and we'll pretend you are no longer pregnant and so the safety of the baby is not involved in this, run a backwards 5K or partake in a beer mile?
Run a backwards 5K.
So we thought maybe you'd be good at the backwards because of your basketball years.
Basketball, yeah. But 5K backwards is a long way. I mean, yeah, maybe time-wise the beer mile. I mean, that's painful. I've never done one. Yeah, I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to say the beer mile because it's like less time.
So can we assume you're good at downing a beer?
No, I don't drink beer at all. I'm probably the only Australian who doesn't, but I could suck it up.
Awesome. Well, Rinny, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing all your pregnancy experiences, and it's been great having you on the show.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.
You know, Alyssa, I really appreciated her approach to her pregnancy. From what I've seen of Rinny, it's kind of how she is planning is definitely her forte in terms of the way she's always created a plan for Kona. And when other athletes get distracted by other Ironman races throughout the year, she's always focused on Kona, had a good plan. And that's part of the reason I think she's been so successful. And it seems like that was her approach to the pregnancy as well, that she wanted to get pregnant when she was still, quote unquote, young enough to be sure she was going to have a healthy pregnancy.
Sure. And the perspective that, worst case scenario, she has this lovely child and then she doesn't go back to racing kind of thing. She was like, that's okay. I'm at a point where she'd be, she felt okay with that if that is what was going to happen. So I really enjoyed hearing that from her.
Chris Stafford is here now with some news about the other podcasts here at Wisp Sports.
With more than 600 episodes across 20 different shows, Wisp Sports Radio covers every aspect of women's sports. Tune in to Locker Room Talk with Sara and Kelly tackling the big issues of the day. The Sailing Show brings you the latest news of women racing in all classes around the world, thanks to our friends at the Magenta Project. And our Athlete Profile series features medal winners and extraordinary women who have made a difference in their sport. Subscribe to Wisp Sports Radio on iTunes so you can listen to the shows anywhere, or visit us at wispsports.com.
That's our show for this week, but be sure to join Alyssa Godesky and myself in 2 weeks' time for another episode of IronWomen.